Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Michi Makes Up. Today we're going to take a look at the new SUQQU 2022 Spring collection. It's a very full and exciting collection. Basically, as part of this launch, they have a whole new line of blushes called Melting Blushes, and I picked up 3 shades. They are gorgeous. They released a total of 8 different shades, so plenty to choose from. And the good news is none of them are limited edition. For those who have been following SUQQU news, collecting SUQQU makeup, you guys know that whenever there's a limited edition set coming out, those tend to go very, very quickly. It's difficult to get. I won't harp on that since I've covered it a few times in my SUQQU videos, but I just want to say none are limited edition, and that's always great news. In addition to the blushes, they also have 3 eye quads. I picked up 2, and of the 3, only 1 is limited edition. The other 2 that I picked up are actually not. So I'm excited to swatch and demo those for you today. And then finally, along with the quads and blushes, they also released 4 sheer matte lipsticks, and of the 4, 2 are limited edition. I did not pick up any sheer matte lipsticks last year. Around fall was when they launched the sheer matte lipstick line. I actually picked up 4 different shades. They're hanging out back there. So I figure I didn't really need anything from this collection. So we'll be focusing on the blushes that I picked up and the eye quads. I would like to also, towards the end of the video, compare these blushes against their pure color blush and the blushes we see in the holiday special blush and highlighter compacts. The quality, the formula is different, but there are some similarities too. I want to say these melting blushes might be my favorite SUQQU blushes going forward, but we'll see. We'll do some comparisons and talk through it some more. So let me start with some swatches. The compacts look like this. Magnetic closure. It's nice and slim, which is, I really enjoy that. And then has a mirror on one side. This is the blush. And just like the pure color blushes, it does come with this. I never use them, but I think it is handy to have if you're on the go. So the shade that I have here is 02 Haru Oto. It is described as a mauve pink. And I think you can see the sheen here. It really goes on smoothly, and I've actually worn this today throughout the day. I took it off for this video, but it really is beautiful. And the pigment too, I did go in with, you know, a good amount of pressure with my finger, and this is easy to diffuse, but you still see like really good pigment left, and they didn't diffuse away. The next shade is 03 Koi Meguri. And this is described as a coral pink. So it has that same sheen. Same kind of silky smoothness, texture, and beautiful color payoff. The last shade is a little misleading from the photos online because it is much, much brighter in person. And this is number 6, Yu Bae. And this is orange. It is a bright, bright shade. These two may look similar, but if you're going in, especially if you're building a little bit on top of this, it is obviously brighter and much more orange. And here, when you look closely, you definitely see the hints of pink to give you that corally shade. Moving on to the quads. The first quad I have here is 07 Beni Seki. And I just find this combination to be really eye-catching, and I especially find this shimmery metallic shade here, this gold shade, to be a very welcomed addition to the quads. I'm leaving some room here so when we do our comparison swatches for blushes, there's room. Just going back in for a second application. This is lighter in payoff, but if you like the gold, it is somewhat buildable. And then going into the shimmery metallic pink. Really pretty. This next shade here is, I guess, more of a fuchsia, and it is a metallic shadow. All are swatching very beautifully. And for the last shade, this is a metallic. What I like about these quads is that all of the shades are either metallics or metallic shimmers. And in the spring quads they released last year, there was actually always one satin shade, one matte shade, and I find that these are generally more intense, these quads, in comparison to what we see in the regular Signature Eyes quad line. The second quad is 08 Kaze Nade. The two are really different. I'm just going to hold them side by side for you guys to see. And I think both are gorgeous. So I'll include the tutorial and the demo of this quad in the video, but I actually wore this out yesterday. And I had it on for about 6 hours. Like at the end of the night, I took it off, so it was 6 hours of wear. I'll talk about the kind of lasting or durability of these shades and how long they last in a little bit, but I do find this to be really, especially this orange here, to be really, really pretty. So like Beniseki, what we just looked at before, it's the same. We have this shimmer shade and this shimmer metallic, and then two metallic shades at the bottom. Go back in once more. This, because it's also like beigey champagne, it does come across as sheerer than the gold shade. And then we have that shimmer metallic next to this really just glittery shade. Then the metallic orange. I guess a metallic orange, you could even describe it as leaning on the burnt orange side. So if you like that, I think you're gonna like the shade. And then the last shade here is a teal with like a good amount of gray undertone. Just want to show you by doing two applications, it is buildable. So these, both quads, these are way more intense in terms of color payoff than what we typically see in a SUQQU quad. I did not pick up the limited edition one because, and I've seen swatches of it by now. It's quite light, and I'm not confident that I'm going to really like the looks that I can create from it, so that's why I didn't pick it up. All right, moving on to our first demo. Because I already put this on yesterday, and you're gonna see a demo of this afterwards, we're just gonna focus on Beniseki today for the eye look. I finished the eye look. I'm going to now go into blush. So I will try one shade on each side of the cheek. I think that's perfect. Because I already used the coral shade, Koi Meguri, with this quad, and you'll see that shortly. So my focus is going to be on the mauve pink shade and orange. I mean, just this alone It just went on so beautifully. And because I had makeup on today, I took off my blush. So now, you know, this is not like a fresh full face of makeup. So my skin is also not the most even and it's not the freshest, but just look how beautifully it went on. That is mauve pink, and this is number 2 Haru Oto. And on the left side, we have number 6 Yubae. So this is with blush applied, and it's pretty nice because even though the orange blush is so bright and the pink mauve is well, it's pink, but it's not necessarily soft pink. These are pigmented blushes, but I guess the shades are considered neutral. So it goes really well with this quad. I have a pink fuchsia-y look with some of the gray added to deepen and give it more dimension, but I could use either blush. And because the coral shade, the coral blush I didn't show you with this look, so a soft shade, and it's in between orange and mauve pink, that this would also go with this eye look. So these blushes are definitely very versatile from what I can tell. I'm very interested to try a couple of more shades if I have the opportunity. So let me go pick out a lip color and then we'll come back to do some blush comparisons. This is their Sheer Matte Lipstick, shade 03. And I do really enjoy how pigmented these lipsticks are, even though they are sheer. So my natural lip color does come through just a little bit, and it is matte in finish, but I mean, it just has enough pigment that if you like the shade, you're gonna get this shade. It's not gonna be like a lighter, it's not gonna end up looking lighter once you have it on your lips. For blush comparisons, I'm going to take a Pure Color blush here, 126. So this is limited edition, but their Pure Color blushes line. There are non-limited edition shades that are just readily available throughout the year. And the cool thing about these blushes is that I've covered it now because I was doing this, but you can see here the lighter part of it. It is like a sheer powder that actually gives this blush an additional sheen, and you could say makes it even silkier and smoother. You can mix these two, which is what I've done, and it kind of has that same sheen as the melting blushes that we're looking at. So let me swatch this above the melting blush. And I really feel like when you mix the two, it has a very similar quality to the melting blushes. That same kind of soft, silky texture and same subtle radiance it gives you. You can choose to not mix the two and just go for this, you know, just this here. And even looking at, let me see. Even just looking at the powder alone, it is a soft powder with its own light sheen, but it's not going to have the same kind of silky effect. So let me do that. Might be kind of hard to tell, but it's slightly less reflective, and it definitely is more concentrated with the pink. Once you mix in that lighter powder, it dilutes the pigment a little bit. So with the way that you can use the Pure Color blushes is you can kind of mix to your heart's content. You can mix a little bit of this light powder or not at all if you want more pigment with your blush. The 126 we just looked at is a very intense and bright color, but they also have lighter shades available, and they've definitely launched lighter shades. This is another limited edition that came out last year, 125. You can see in comparison, it's not as intense, not nearly as intense as that pink 126. So let me swatch this as well. I did go in mixing the lighter powder and this, and we're going to swatch it right here. You can see the payoff is much, much lighter because of the shade, and I can go in and build on it, but I think the final outcome, we're going to see that it's not quite like the orange blush here from melting or the coral blush. And my final comparison is going to be using the SUQQU 102 Blush Compact. So they've come up with these 2 years in a row during the holiday season, where it's a compact of 6 shades, typically 1 to 2 highlighters, the rest are blushes. It really is different than any of their other offerings. And these blushes tend to be very, very pigmented. So let me go into this shade. I think it has the very similar soft powder quality as kind of this side of the Pure Color blushes. But it does have more intense color payoff in general, like the melting blushes. So I'm gonna go in for a second application to build on it. And for comparisons, I'm going to take the more metallic blushes. Some of these are too deep for my skin tone, but I do love the offering. You don't see these very often, like a metallic blush, or for some people, they might use it as a highlighter depending on their skin tone. I think the variety is great. Isn't that pretty? That's so gorgeous. So those are all the blush comparisons, and I think the standout from this collection is most definitely going to be the new blush line. None of the shades are limited edition, which is just so exciting, which means if anything that catches your eye is sold out right now, it will definitely come back. And this collection is also launching with different retailers, because SUQQU does have an exclusive or some deal with Selfridges, where any new collection, whether it's limited edition or not, it shows up on Selfridges first, is available there first. And then after usually, I want to say 2 weeks or so, it's then available with other retailer like Harrods, Liberty London, and Cult Beauty. So I will have links to all of those below, and then to these products directly, just for your easy access. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Also, the demo for the Coral Blush plus this quad will come right after this. Thank you guys for watching. I really enjoy the collection. I love both of the eye quads. Oh, one thing, right, I was gonna talk about this. Tavia, Chic Profile on Instagram, I do follow her for makeup news. I'll have her Instagram handle below. She got this collection right when it launched and was testing it, and she mentioned that the eye quads, the colors were faded, or they faded sort of like 5-6 hours into wear. And I was curious too. So when I wore this yesterday for most of the evening, I was paying attention to, you know, the fading, what did it look like at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, definitely this teal here was no longer a teal. But I have to preface that I did not really build on this shade. This was something I used to put above the lash line to deepen right here, give this, you know, the look more dimension, a bit more texture. So I didn't pack it on like I did with this orange shade. The orange shade, after 6 hours, stay put. I didn't feel like, it didn't look like it faded. You know, it's not like the product moved all over the place. So everything else looked good at the end of 6 hours, except this. So if you are interested in this quad solely because of this, you know, teal shade, I have some reservations about that. But it's not like the product or the shade completely disappears. it just, the blue fades and you get that gray undertone. So because I use it to, you know, deepen certain areas, I still had the depth in my look. It was still present, it's still visible, but the blue was gone. I do want to try this again and focus my look on the shade, just concentrate it here, because maybe if I pack this on and not diffuse it as much, it will probably, I have a feeling it will probably last longer and the blue won't fade as quickly, or the blue-green, like this, same thing with this orange here when I packed it on. The glitter, some of this did end up on my cheek, but it's so fine that it didn't bother me. But it is going to be visible if you're, you know, standing face to face talking to somebody and you move, likely after a while, that person's probably going to catch it. So something else to be aware of as well. Well, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you very soon in the next one. Take care. Bye.